Yeah, you said on the 45. I opened, like, I flipped the time that is. And I was like, oh, I have 2 seconds.
Oh god,
so
I'm
early.
sorry.
Wow.
But you made it.
Keep you on the ball.
Yeah, it's like 2 monitor troubles.
Right.
2 monitors.
Darn it. I need to get a third monitor so
Oh
badly.
my gosh, me too.
I was gonna say, how do you
Yeah,
live
you
with
do.
only 2 monitors?
Right?
It's not
three's
easy.
enough.
I'm a fake gamer. I don't know if you've heard the news.
What, you only have 2 monitors?
Yeah, fake gamer confirmed.
You posted a picture of yourself on Twitter relatively recently, and it was just like, there's 2 monitors behind you, and I was just like, I wanna critique, but no, I'm not gonna be mean.
I mean, if
How
you
do
want to flame me on Twitter, I feel like that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, fair.
How
You have
do
an
you
open invite.
manage?
Not easily.
Yeah.
Half screen normally for different things. Just windows, left, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is why I don't check Discord while I'm streaming, because I just don't have enough room.
Well, something that won't cause people to be outraged is this is episode 35 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast, and I'm Blind and I'm hosting. This is going to be airing live September 18th, 2022. It's a Sunday, assuming I did my math right. And today I'm joined by Jess. How are you?
Blind, I can't let this go on any longer.
What? Calling out you first?
No, it's whoa, Jess.
Oh. Okay, Jess. How are you?
I am actually outraged because I'm so tired, but you know, I'm the one person who's outraged by this. I'm not really outraged.
You're just tired.
I'm just rambly, you know, it's very early for me. This is like earlier than I even stream, so you're getting me at like prime grogginess.
This seems like quality podcast content.
Thank you for joining us, Jess.
But on the topic of quality podcast content, 2D Kiri's also here. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I am not tired.
I'm not tired. I'm blind. Bloody Drongo's also here, who's probably ready
Hi.
for bed, I would assume.
I'm riding a wave of endorphins right now because I have eaten the world's spiciest chip this evening, so that was a fun time.
You
So
mad
I'm going to be
person.
awake for a couple of hours.
So I completely missed this as like I woke up at like I think it was 7 in the morning my time, and I see a post from Art saying, "Well, rip Drongo because he just ate the world's spiciest tortilla chip," and now I need to know what what
Well,
what?
I mean, it's as described. Apparently, it's the world's spiciest corn chip, is what it calls itself, and I can confirm it is very, very hot. I'm pretty comfortable with spicy food. I would describe myself as having an above average tolerance for it, and this was orders of magnitude hotter than even the ghost chili that I'd had by itself previously. And it was, yeah, a pretty intense experience, I would say.
I was just gonna ask, how does one acquire a world's hottest like corn chip? Does it come in a bag of them? Do you just get one? Like,
See, I mean, that's the point of contention with this, because if you've heard of the one chip challenge, that is literally one chip that comes in a box. From the Scoville ratings I read, I believe this is slightly hotter than the one chip challenge. But this one does come in a packet of chips, which is bewildering to me because I cannot foresee in any universe why anybody would ever need to have more than one of these ever. It's bizarre.
crush it and put it in a chili.
One per day.
Oof. So I watched Drongo eat this live, and at first it was really funny, but then I actually started getting concerned because he lost all his color, and he started crying and sweating, and his facial expression was really worrying. So I'm glad you're here now, and obviously you survived, but wow, that quickly turned from Schadenfreude to I am seriously concerned about you.
I need to see this clip.
Yeah, it'll go out. I'll probably actually put it into a YouTube video. I feel like the title, "I ate the world's hottest corn chip," is, you know, I feel like that's like clickbait without being clickbait, right?
Absolutely.
So
Because
it
that's
works.
true.
Yes, it's truth bait.
Yeah, you should do that.
legit bait.
Legit bait, yeah.
Yeah, oof.
Yeah, that's the term, legit bait.
But I do apologize, Kiri. I didn't mean to.
No,
worry
you don't have to apologize to me. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. You didn't look well.
I feel like I would have just had like a 2 liter of milk right next to me if I ate that thing.
I did have a little half glass of milk, and I took a few sips of that throughout, which definitely did help towards the end.
Were you playing a game during this process, or was this a just chatting thing?
Oh no, this was a just chatting thing. I knew it was going to be pretty full on, so I did. I was playing my hardcore Minecraft save, so I was just like, yeah, I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to focus on trying to get through this in one piece.
Well, I'm glad that you're still with us.
Same.
Thanks. Me too.
What, Jess?
I was gonna say I really want to interrupt, and because I just remembered today out for delivery my Steam Deck.
So
my
soon.
goodness.
It's gonna
That's
be
amazing.
here today.
Actually,
Amazing.
Ah,
so
I'm
next time
excited
we have,
for you.
next time Jess is on the podcast, we get another Steam Deck review.
Yeah, I'm so excited,
That's awesome.
especially after Kiri's review.
It's neat how fast those things are shipping now.
Yeah, they've really ramped up production, I suppose.
It wasn't supposed to be here until like late October.
Damn.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
I know. I'm
I still
stoked.
use it every day when I'm actually home, and I haven't been home a lot recently. But
Did you take it with you?
no, I didn't have time to do any gaming.
It's a heavy
I'm not
device to carry
surprised.
too. Takes up a lot of backpack space. Not something you want to lose in luggage.
Yeah, no, I was traveling really light, so I just there was no point in bringing it.
I saw that you had on some of your TwitchCon merch while you were away in some of the photos, and I was going to say
Yeah.
it looked awesome, rocking
Thank you.
the Twitch.
Yeah, it
oh
was
yeah,
really funny.
I liked your hoodie, the like
Yeah,
white and
that's
black
the-
one.
That's the Amsterdam hoodie. Yeah, and it's really funny because I flew back. So I was at PAX West, in case some people don't know. And I flew back over Amsterdam, and I was actually wearing the TwitchCon Amsterdam hoodie in Amsterdam again. That was not on purpose.
Full circle.
Yep.
On the bus home, it got a little chilly, so I had my Discord partner, like hoodie on, and I was one of the first people on the bus going home. There was like maybe 2 other people on the bus, and then all these people wearing PAX shirts started getting on the bus, and they're like, "Oh, you came from PAX, you came from PAX." Like they kept like this one guy just kept naming people like, "You came from PAX, you came from PAX, you came from PAX."
Yep.
It's like the entire bus was just like PAX attendees.
That's how you recognize them.
Which is kind of funny because, like, when you get to the Canadian border going back from PAX here, it's like they ask you, they're like, "Where were you? Like, what were you doing?" All that jazz for immigration. And there was a group in front of me that like were coming from Mexico and like trained all the way up, and they were just like coming up to Canada to visit family. Like they just traveled all the way up through the States, right? And they got asked this really long list of questions, but everybody who went up there and just said, "Yeah, I was in Seattle, I was at PAX West." No more questions. They didn't even finish the forum and just moved you on. So if you want to smuggle something into Canada, do it around PAX West and say you came from PAX West.
Oh.
They did have
I
dogs,
suppose
though.
people buy the same thing, right? They buy T-shirts and they buy, I don't know, dice for pen and paper and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not
That
going to be
and-
very interesting for the border people.
They have this long list of like a questionnaire thing that they're supposed to ask you about like your job and stuff if you're down for work and things. But when people are just like, "Oh yeah, I was at PAX," they just assume that you were there to play video games and just move it along.
Which is a fair assumption.
Yep. I guess technically I was there for work, but it's fine.
I really wish I could have gone. Maybe next year.
That would have been so nice. I mean, it was great to meet Blind because when half of the team met a couple of years ago at TwitchCon San Diego, I wasn't there. And I had the worst fear of missing out ever, and I was so sad seeing the pictures of everybody meeting and me just being home.
Oh.
So I know it was yeah. Anyway, so it was really, really amazing to actually meet up with Blind in person
Yeah.
on another continent. It was crazy.
In a very different time zone.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I don't really know what jet lag is supposed to be, but I don't have it. I didn't have it going there, and I don't have it coming back home. It was just really tedious traveling for like 20 hours and being awake for so much longer. So basically just the day traveling was really rough because I just stayed up until bedtime in that time zone I was in. But after that, it was fine.
See, I get jet lag if I go to Montreal, which is a 2-hour time difference.
Oh.
And it took me like 4 days to recover from that.
I have more jet lag when we switch from summer to winter time, now that you mention that.
Like, oh yeah, like daylight savings?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that gives me jet lag too. That ruins a week.
Yeah, but like those 9 hours, I mean, I had a very long and exhausting day of traveling, but I'm okay. I don't know. Like my friend. Okay, funny story. You might have seen that already because I posted about it. But funny story. My friend, who's been hiking in the US for several months, doing the Pacific Crest Trail, texted me while I was sitting at the airport in Seattle and said, "Hey, how long are you still in the US?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for my plane." And he said, "No way, I'm just waiting for my plane." Sadly, he was not in Seattle, although that would have been his last stop, but due to wildfires and everything, he went back to Oregon and then finished the trail there. So he was in Portland, waiting on his plane. He went through London and then to Vienna. I went through Amsterdam and then to Vienna, but we basically arrived within 15 minutes of each other back at home at the airport. So we met up at the airport, which was just hilarious. Like, how does that happen?
I love those sorts of coincidences.
That's like
amazing.
that's like movie or TV trope level
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
we
not
just
planned at
happened to
all.
be in this international airport at the same time.
Right?
Yeah, things that never happen, but apparently actually do.
They do happen, and it was so cool because he actually had a friend to pick him up. And so I had somebody to pick me up too, and we just chatted, and it was really nice because we haven't seen each other in like, I don't know, 4 months,
That's
I
really
think.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm back from PAX, and I got to meet Blind, and it was amazing. And I met Drongo earlier this year at TwitchCon Amsterdam. So I'm ticking off the people I meet from Halcyon.
I've been
Guess you next.
staring at flights to Paris, and they're actually semi-reasonable if I'm willing to do a 5-hour layover. It's like $700
too bad.
$700-800 to fly to Paris.
I had 5 hours in Amsterdam, and it actually went past really quickly.
TwitchCon Europe is in Paris next year for anybody who doesn't know.
Yes, in July.
I'm hoping that the cost of flights will come down a little bit into next year, but who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, because it's still ridiculously expensive to fly anywhere from Australia at the moment.
I mean, for comparison, when I was looking at flights to Amsterdam, they were $2,500 earlier this year.
Oof.
So, with a layover. So,
Yeah, that's just not feasible.
I remember looking at it and just going, nope, that's not happening.
Nope.
But
I really hope to make it to TwitchCon EU next year
That'd
in
be
Paris.
great.
Like I do hope that the flights aren't going to be too pricey.
It'd be so cool to have a Halcyon meetup.
in Paris,
That'll
of all
be amazing.
places.
I'd love that.
Just looking
Yeah, that
at
would be
flights
cool.
from Sydney to Paris, it's the cheapest here is $2,500.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
In
sounds
July?
like here.
Of next year?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, not
Oh.
even. Yeah, no, that is July. Yeah.
Oh, far. That is way too expensive.
This is why I want to go to PAX Australia, but you know,
Okay, now I'm checking.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be good. I'll be headed to PAX this time next month in Australia, which should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be my, I guess, the prescription pill to cure my envy for TwitchCon in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's the same weekend, so
Right.
I'm gonna be going there and trying to pretend the TwitchCon isn't happening over there, and then I'm not missing out on other things.
that seems like poor organization on the part of PAX Australia. Like, you'd think that you wouldn't want to overlap those two.
It is an interesting decision. I can't help but feel like it's probably, we're so isolated down here in terms of market and community that there probably isn't a huge portion of attendees that would be forced to pick between the two events.
Yeah, it's just the big guns that you pay to show up that are forced to pick.
Yeah.
But
Possibly.
I also I don't know how big
yeah.
PAX Australia is because I've never been. So
Neither have I. I mean,
I guess you'll
TwitchCon
find out.
EU was my first ever con, so
really,
this will be my first con in Australia, so it'll be interesting.
this has been an interesting year, especially like for me to go to PAX this year because like that was my 6th PAX.
Wow.
I've been to, because like PAX West is like it's just like a 4-hour trip across the border for me. It's always been really easy to get to, and I'm very fortunate in that I have a longtime viewer who goes by The Eggman online, who I know as Jacob, who Kiri got to meet, and he had an apartment out there, like bus ride distance from the convention center, and now he has a house out there. So I just go down there and I crash on his sofa, and now his guest bedroom. So it's like I have a house to crash at, and so PAX West has always just been super easy. I made it out to PAX East once, and I've been to almost every TwitchCon NA with the exception of like the canceled years, and then I guess this year I won't be going. But I skipped the first ever TwitchCon. That was the one that I missed, but I've been to everyone since.
Wow, that's impressive. Has it changed much over the years?
PAX just got slowly bigger, and then this one was considerably smaller. And TwitchCon is kind of a weird evolution, especially TwitchCon NA. I obviously don't have the basis for comparison for TwitchCon EU because I've never been to one, but TwitchCon North America was this really interesting, weird kind of like landslide almost. Like the first year I went, it was very small. There was 15,000 people there, like very small, and they've ballooned to this ludicrous size now where they're bigger than PAX in attendance. And it's this weird convention because the first years I went, it was very much just like fan meetups with big streamers, right? And then like occasional smaller streamers, and nobody was affiliate back then because the affiliate program didn't exist back in like 2016. So we would just show up, and like if you streamed and you were smaller, you had business cards probably, and there was always like some games there, like Frontier had games there. There was a Brace Yourself games booth. I think the Monolith had a booth. They make like Castle Crashers and that. I think that's the name of that studio. Like all of, like Devolver had a booth. Like all the bigger ones, all the bigger names had booths. Tiny Build had a booth. And you show up and you'd play some games, but it was mostly just like a panels and like meeting up with people, right? It was actually mostly just like little fan meetups everywhere, and they had like these meetup rooms where you could book a meetup room the week before the event, and so that's what I spent the most of that TwitchCon doing, was just meeting people. And then over time, TwitchCon has turned into like TwitchCon NA has kind of taken a turn for the worst in my opinion, because at this point now, and me and Kiri talked about this at PAX, but at this point now, it's no longer a convention for people to meet people. It almost feels like a multi-level marketing event trying to make people make as much money on the website as possible. And it's very rare to see a community badge at TwitchCon. Everybody's an affiliate. So it's affiliates and partners primarily. The occasional community member has nothing to do because there's no more meeting rooms and all of the meetups are outside and they're very scattered. And the bigger partners just hide in private areas in the background, and smaller partners, you don't get swarmed. That's maybe not a good way to put it, but like I will never forget this one guy who almost poked my eye out with a business card while I was sitting down. Like he just walked up to me and tried to give me a business card. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for raids. Do you want to raid me?" I was like, "No." So that's I don't know. I've kind of gone sour on TwitchCon North America a little bit, just because like, yeah, it has good parties. It has good networking events. It had like the private, like partner only sections are kind of great. The basic panels on how to stream are good if you like are trying to just get started streaming. It's okay for like early networking stuff, but outside of that, to me, it feels like this I don't know. It just makes me feel icky these days.
So how does it compare to EU?
Yeah, it's completely different. So TwitchCon EU also has panels for streamers to start out and help, but also for moderators, community members. And there were different queues when you pick up your badge. There's a queue for partners, there's a queue for affiliates, and then there's a queue for community. And they get bigger. Like Mystery had to queue up for the community badge, and it took hours. So there are so many community people going to TwitchCon EU and just hanging out, meeting people. The panels are also fun. Like there was a drag showcase, and was that a cosplay event? I'm not quite sure. I think so.
There was a cosplay event. I think, yeah, but then again, like it's also sounds like it's a lot smaller. I think the TwitchCon EU had around 15,000, which I think is, from what Blind was saying, on the lower end in comparison.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah,
the last
it's interesting
TwitchCon...
to kind of.
Sorry.
It's interesting to kind of think about how these sorts of events evolve and change over time. I think, yeah, there's probably a good point to be made around, like, sometimes it does almost feel like an MLM, in the sense that a lot of the time, you know, streamers are supporting other streamers and watching other streamers, and we're all kind of passing around the same same money, and then Twitch takes its cut all the time, which does feel a bit funny sometimes. But yeah, I think there was definitely a lot of community attendance and engagement in TwitchCon EU, but there was also a lot of affiliates, to be fair, as well.
I hope I can make it.
Like the lineup for the last TwitchCon San Diego I went to, like there was, I mean, like Jess was there too, but like there was the partner line, there was the affiliate line, and there was the community line. And I didn't see a person in the community line the entire time I was there. Granted, I was a little bit late the first day because I don't like to be stuck in the big line, so I always try and show up about 4 hours after the hall opens. But there was always like a line for the affiliates. There was always like there was barely ever a line for the partner line, and there was never a line for the community line. But there was always an affiliate line to get in, regardless of the time of day. Right down to the last day, there was still like 10 people in that line queuing up for the metal detectors.
I was an affiliate then, and I was in the line. It was so long. I was there for hours. It was so long.
I lined up in the affiliate line once to line up with my moderator, and you know, like the partners can go through the affiliate line. It'll just take longer, right? So we lined up and we were waiting, and we were in that line for maybe about 30 minutes. It was indoors, so it wasn't so bad. But once we got through, there was actually an error where he got a he was given a what's it called, a rivals badge, which was basically like the equivalent of an exhibitor badge. So he got his own line, so he got to skip the entire line every single time. It was like a misprint. There was like it was a thing that was going around where people were getting rivals badges that weren't supposed to have them. So he got a rivals badge, so he just got to skip the line every day, which was kind of awesome.
Convenient.
Very convenient.
I think the only technical mishap we had at TwitchCon EU was they weren't able to open up to distribute the badges on the early badge collection in the afternoon for about 40 minutes because apparently the internal software had been set to an American time zone instead of an EU time zone.
Yeah, and they had to wait for
which
that.
is the most Twitch error ever.
Was it in Pacific time?
Well, possibly, I don't know.
I have no idea.
It was in the wrong time
zone. People to fix it up.
Like everything Twitch does is in Pacific time, so I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Especially if like someone at home set it up.
Yeah. They just didn't think about it. Conventions. So there were basically like 2 years of no conventions happening, as we all know. And this year I've been to 4. 1 in Austria, then TwitchCon EU in Amsterdam, Gamescom in Cologne, Germany, and then PAX West. And it's been so amazing. Like I'm so happy I went to all of these because I didn't realize it, but I missed it. I don't know, can you miss something that you never really had before? But
Yes.
I used to always joke that the only reason I stream is because of the next convention. And like, and this was like back when I was making not enough money to live off of doing this. But I was making enough money that was worth doing, but not enough money that I could quit my job when I was at that point. And I used to always joke, and people would say like, you know, why do you stream so much? Like you're not making money. It's like, well, for conventions, because like you struggle for 8 months and then you get to pretend to be a rock star for 3 days. Because like half the people at the booths recognize you, and there's something kind of magical about that.
It is. So it was really funny because at TwitchCon EU, lots of community members met up with me and recognized me and said hi, want to take a photo and stuff. But at the other conventions, developers and publishers recognized me, or companies I've worked with recognized me. You know, oh, we hired you for that sponsorship, and so on. And that is so cool. It is
That's
kind of
really
like
cool.
being a rock star. And I felt so good about this. Not in a way of, oh, I'm better than everybody else, but it was just so rewarding. You know, I put so much work and time and effort into this. And it's
that's
kind of
what I was
paying
gonna
off.
say. It's like, it's not so much narcissism. It's
You're losing your voice.
I have throat frogs today, but like you're being recognized for the work and the effort you've put in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
very
an
validating.
incredible feeling. I just love that.
I will say that like so for like PAX this year, it technically happened last year. Believe it or not, there was a PAX West last year, in 2021. But
Okay.
it was. Did you make it up to the board game area in the upper hall, the area with
Yeah.
carpet? It was just that hall, the well lit hall.
All of it. All
Yeah.
of PAX was just that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was tiny. There was everything that I read about that was they booked that event just to keep their weekend in the hall.
Oh, I see.
Because it was like an insurance thing. They could only take 1 year off. So either they had to like pay out insurance or they had to book an event. So this is technically, I guess, the second PAX West since the pandemic. And it was noticeably smaller. But I think in some ways it was noticeably smaller for the better. PAX previously, you know, it's a 4-day event, right? Like it's from Friday to Monday. It's a long event. And it's been a 4-day event for, I think, since as long as I've been going anyway, since like 2015, 14-ish. And previously it would always be the 3 halls in the convention center. So the 2 main halls plus the upper hall in Seattle, plus a number of the hotels around the building in the city would have events. And some of the hotels did. Most of them this year didn't. I know that the theater that's booked out, which I've never actually been in, that was booked out, and several companies did shows in there. Usually, previously it was always Bungie would book it out, and they'd show Destiny things. But it was a much more scaled down PAX, which I think made it actually very manageable. I was only in the hall the one day, and I feel like I was pretty comfortably able to at least have a glance at everything in all of the halls in one day. And previously, it would take 2.5 with a press badge skipping lines to see everything. The one way that I think it's scaled down for the better is there's a lot more seating now. Previously, there were, like, because there is food in the convention center. It's not great, but, like, you know, there's, like, little cafeterias and stuff where you can get food, and snack stands and stuff. Previously, it was just the cafeteria, and then you're out into the races and you have to eat it on the floor, or sit down at the edge of the hall. Now there's, like, large seating areas in various places, including one where, like, Xbox's booth used to be. And one where Twitch's booth used to be. So I think that honestly is for the better, just having like chunks of public seating everywhere. But
definitely.
But as a whole, like the convention felt a lot smaller, and a lot less attended, which I think for me as somebody who's developed a small amount of social anxiety since the pandemic, that's for the best.
Yeah,
That
like the
makes
amount
sense.
of people that were there felt appropriate. Like it wasn't at no point in time I actually felt scared because there were too many people. It was a good amount, I'd say.
Yeah, and
I
like
guess since... Oh, I was just going to say, I guess since yourself, Blind, and Kiri now, you know, having done 4 in 1 year, and Jess as well, you're all, I guess, convention veterans at this point. For a convention newbie like me or anybody who's listening, do you have any like convention pro tips?
Bring your own sanitizer, hand sanitizer. And I would not just because like pandemics. I mean, I've been bringing hand sanitizer to conventions for years. I just always have a bottle of it in my pocket. If I ever touched anybody, hand sanitizer. If I played a game, hand sanitizer. And I've never gotten the PAX pox. Everybody always goes on about, oh, I'm so sick at the end of a convention. Like even during non-pandemic times, like normal times, like it's like there's a Twitter account for it, like the PAX Fox. It just retweets people that said that they got sick after PAX, which is actually it's a pretty funny account to follow, especially when COVID started. It's like I didn't do it. It's not me. That's honestly my biggest piece of advice is bring hand sanitizer.
Absolutely. And I don't know how mask policy is in Australia and with PAX Australia, but the only two conventions where I had masks were Gamescom because I wanted it, and then PAX West because it was mandatory, and I didn't get ill afterwards. I got ill after every other convention I've been to. Once with COVID, and then it's just, convention flu, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But the masks are really helpful.
Yeah.
Also, bring your business cards if you have them ready now.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Business cards, and then maybe also like stickers or something. Just little things that you can share.
Yeah. If you're meeting up with community, then definitely stickers. Or Blind make these really, really cool patches with his name on it.
Yeah.
I love those.
I'm gonna get more made too. I need more designs of those.
Oh, those are the ones that you posted on Twitter, right?
Yeah, the little patches. Those are kind of like my demo run of like me trying to make patches. Because, I'm a metalhead. I like metal vests covered in patches. I want my own patches.
Yeah, of course.
That's a great idea.
And so I'm going to be mailing them out to patrons as well. But it's... if from a streamer's perspective, it's like, or any kind of creator's perspective, like I guess like kind of the booklet is just at this point, bring a mask, bring hand sanitizer, bring business cards, and kind of look in advance and see what's there and try and plan your route before you get there, at least for the first day.
Yeah.
I have this nasty habit of just kind of showing up and then walking through it, especially with PAX West. I do this because I've been to PAX West so many times. I know where everything is approximately. So it's not too hard for me to just go from place to place. But like the first few years I went to PAX, it was always kind of nuts because you'd get there and you'd be like, all right, where is everything? And then day 3, you'd find a new hall and you'd be like, I didn't know there was more stuff here. So yeah, don't be like I used to be. Just surprise yourself.
I've actually been to like loads of conventions that were not like streamer related. I've been to like lots and lots and lots of cosplay conventions and stuff, and definitely getting the little manual thingy and looking at it ahead of time is super helpful because there's so much stuff that goes on, especially like smaller things and community things or just like smaller group-led activities that are just easy to miss because they get lost in the hustle and bustle.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely check out the little pamphlet. Also, I really want to get like a branded mask. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Like-
I was thinking about that. I didn't have time for it, but if you can do that, absolutely go for it.
Yeah.
I want to get one of those masks. There's a shop around here that does like screen printing, and one of the things that they've started printing are they print on cloth masks, which aren't as effective, but like you could put it over your like N95 mask.
Yeah. No, I think that would be really cool, especially because like if you are a streamer who uses a cam, like your face gets obscured by it, and like maybe that affects something, but then at the same time, it's just like kind of cool. You're just advertising your brand while being safe.
Streamer I know through Twitter, I didn't actually end up seeing him at PAX, but I know he was at PAX, has a mask that has a picture of his face. For the lower half of his face.
Literally just going to say, I really want to get a mask that is just my face.
That
just like your
kind
chin.
of creepy though, because when you're
That would be
talking but your
super
mouth isn't
creepy.
moving.
Yeah.
You have to get like a low poly version of your face though, so you kind of look like you're falling out of a PS1 game.
Amazing.
Wow.
Just make it all
Okay.
like blocky and like kind of pixelated.
Yeah.
I recommend getting an app because usually conventions have an app now So you
Oh,
can
yeah.
map all the exhibitors, panels, everything, the schedule on the app, so you always have it on your phone. You can check.
Remember, TwitchCon had one that sent you push notifications last year
Yeah,
or last time.
Gamescom had that too, and I think PAX as well. You can just then favorite the exhibitors or favorite a panel, put in your calendar and so on. That's really convenient. And I didn't do this, but a streamer I met at Gamescom had it. Basically a merch shirt just for him with his channel name on it. And that was so brilliant because it's loud at conventions and you might not be able to hear the other person. You maybe don't want to hand out a business card immediately in the first 5 seconds of introducing yourself. And if somebody doesn't understand you, then you just point on your chest and say, hey, I'm Kiri. It's right there.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's a
going to
good
do
idea.
that for next year.
Now I want to get a shirt with a QR code that just links to my channel.
Or that, sure.
That
I've
also
seen
works.
somebody with a QR code on a shirt.
Or you can do what Twitch did and give people passes with giant QR codes that, that
But
just
don't
didn't
lead
work.
anywhere. Yeah, no, that was brilliant.
Wait, they did that and they didn't lead anywhere?
No.
What?
Well, I mean,
It was
some
an
of them
internal
did. It was
thing.
really bizarre.
Because they did that at
So-
TwitchCon NA and they worked.
They didn't work for me. Like, Drongo made mine go to a clip of mine, but nobody
Yeah,
else got that to work. So I don't
Huh.
know how he did that. But
It was
also
just
a
a
random
clip of Kiri going, okay.
Okay, I guess this QR code will work this time.
That's how much effort that Twitch put into that is, okay.
Yeah, basically.
That's
And
that's
then
kind of wild.
JJM Jim's, his went to a different stream.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It was like Jimmy Jim or something was the stream name that it linked to. That was really funny.
Awkward.
Yeah, that did not work at all. The idea was good, but
Execution, not so great.
It's just like about everything with Twitch. Well, the idea's sound. It's just you like halfway baked it and then shipped it.
yeah.
It's like you have all of the ingredients for a cake, but you forgot to stir it.
It's like the half-baked bread I have in my pantry. It's like shelf-stable bread, and you just have to finish baking it.
Huh.
That's like all of Twitch's ideas, that they just didn't put it in the oven to finish it.
I just didn't read the instructions.
Kind of like that.
Well, speaking of reading the instructions, I think we should go to a real quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some games that we've been playing. And then we're going to wrap up kind of this little shorter podcast, I think. So we'll be back right after this.
Well, hi there. Do you like video games? Do you like cats? Maybe even otters? Well then, do I just have the place for you. FG's Otterly Cat Emporium, streaming live only over on twitch.tv. Well, hi. Yeah, hi. I'm FG. I play a wide variety of games Monday through Fridays at 9 a.m. GMT over on twitch.tv/FG². I also have a very noisy cat named Panda, who for once is actually not being noisy. And our mascot is a cute little otter named George. So come on over, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!
And we're back once again. This is the Halcyon Frequency Podcast, airing Sunday, September 18th, 2022, episode 35. We've been talking conventions, and we've been covering a few other things. And I just kind of want to talk about the one game that I did play at PAX, which is System Shock, the original game remake developed by Night Dive Studios and published by Prime Matter. So this game's been knocking around for a while. I know it's had some development problems, largely due to the fact that Night Dive Studios is like not a big team. Night Dive Studios is like a very small group of like rather young developers that started or realized that they could purchase IP for pennies in some instances. And what they did for a really long time, and their business model was they would pick up games that were on the N64, games from the 90s, and they would not remaster them per se, but like update them enough so that they ran at modern resolution. Basically, essentially mod them so that they ran at modern resolutions on modern hardware, and they would sell them like at bargain bin prices, and they did quite well doing that for quite some time. One of their biggest releases was Turok, which is a old first-person shooter from the N64 where you shoot dinosaurs. And they ported that to PC but got it out on Steam, and it did quite well. And eventually, somehow, through like purchasing and licensing, they managed to get their hands on the System Shock IP. So they put out System Shock Definitive Edition, I think it is, which is their kind of treatment to the original, making the original playable, which I will thank them forever for, because that is not necessarily a feat, but like it's good that game is available and accessible. But alongside of that, they started working on a remake, a ground-up remake from System Shock, because if you've never played System Shock, it is one of the most clunky games that you could possibly go back to. This is a first-person game before people knew how to make first-person games. Like it's a mouse-controlled first-person game, largely. So including like clicking and dragging on the screen to like aim and stuff. Like it is a special video game. But you know, it's a product of its time, and it's great that it's archived like that. But alongside of that, they've been working on a remaster of System Shock, and currently it's up for pre-order on Steam, which I would question as to whether or not if you should do that, because that doesn't seem wise to me. For reasons as following: it was supposed to be out in 2019, I think was their original announcement release date, and they've missed every single one of those, and they've delayed it for about 3 years now. And at one point, they actually had to put the project on permanent hold and stop developing it because they ran out of money. But since then, the pandemic has happened, and they started developing it, or like their lead developer just started live streaming development of it. He's just like, I'm just going to show you how much we've done. They've released various demos over the years. And there is a demo available on Steam right now, and it was playable at PAX. And so I saw it, and I was like, you know what? Let's play this at PAX, because the PAX demo has an area that's not in the Steam demo. And I've played a few different demos of this over the years, and what I got to say about it is that it looks really nice. The combat is slow and methodical and pretty clunky the way it should be. Like, it feels heavy. The audio design is pretty solid. Like, the atmosphere is good. I mean, as good as you can get with wearing headphones at a convention, right? It's got that sci-fi horror feel that you kind of need from System Shock. Like, it's not a horror game. Like, it's not going to be scary. I mean, it's very glowy and larger than life, so it's almost silly looking in places, but like, it definitely has that you're kind of screwed if there's a lot of enemies coming around the corner vibe that you want from System Shock. So that demo left me feeling very, very hopeful, actually, for the System Shock like remake that I've been, kind of down on, I guess, for a while now because of the issues in development. And it was nice to play it. I think my biggest concern is, to anybody who's played the original System Shock would know this, but the original System Shock has very, very, very maze-like levels. They're extremely maze-like. And the one thing that original game did to make them clear is, and where you are so you don't get lost, is the areas were very distinct visually. The walls are different colors. Straight up, like, an area will be blue, an area will be green, an area will be bright red. And something that they've done with the art style in this version of System Shock is they still have the different color lighting, but the walls are all kind of like this blue, turquoise, gray color. And so there's a lot more coherency to the inside of the station, but I'm worried that areas will be samey looking, and I'm worried it'll be easy to get lost. That being said, the remake does have a mini-map, whereas the original didn't. The original, you had to pop it up. It was like a full-screen pop-up thing that you had to press a button. So at the very least, there is a mini-map, so that'll make things a lot easier, but I am worried about like my own sense of direction and getting lost, and I think that could cause frustrations, but I haven't played the bigger maze levels, so I'm not sure. But I'm hopeful about System Shock.
It sounds promising. Like, I've never even heard of it before, so it's a first-person game, so it's not for me, but you kind of made me excited about it, even though I can't play it.
For reference, System Shock and System Shock 2 are kind of like the games that came before BioShock. So if you're familiar with the BioShock games at all,
yeah,
or at least the
I was
art
gonna
of the
say,
BioShock games.
isn't BioShock a spiritual successor?
Yes. To the point where BioShock 1 almost has the same storyline, except it's weird, like diesel punk underwater stuff instead of sci-fi horror.
Huh. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, same lineage. I mean, the studio that worked on, or some of the people that worked on System Shock went on to form, Irrational Games, which made BioShock. So, yeah, no, and then Tyne and Sylvester worked on BioShock Infinite, and now we have RimWorld.
Really?
Yeah, he was a level designer in BioShock Infinite.
Oh.
But yeah, so System Shock is, game from my childhood and something that I'm happy to see remastered. And even if you'll never play a System Shock game, I would recommend going and reading the Wikipedia page for the story of System Shock 2, because it's a great tale, and also listen to voice lines from the evil robot in System Shock 2 and System Shock 1, because she's fantastic. It's one of the best evil AIs in a video game, because just reasons. But
I'm also not sure if that's a game for me because horror, but yeah, I'm excited too.
They're
Maybe
not-
I'll watch a playthrough.
there's a lot of really good playthroughs of System Shock and System Shock 2 out there. Actually, you could just watch Mandalore Gaming's review of System Shock 1. It's probably like, if you don't want to play System Shock but like want to know what it's about, just watch Mandy's like 1 hour review of System Shock, and then I think he has a review of System Shock 2 too, because he does all the spoilered stuff in there too.
Okay.
But yeah, System Shock's great, and I'm looking forward to this remake.
Cool.
Sounds promising.
So Drongo, I hear that you're playing some Humankind.
Yeah, so they recently announced a new DLC
Expansion.
that will be expansion. Sorry.
But yeah, they make a difference between that.
Oh, what's the difference between a DLC and expansion for
So
my?
there's been, I think, 2 DLCs so far. The Latin American and African cultures, I think.
Mhm.
And they add 1 new culture for each era. I think 2 world wonders and several narrative events.
Okay.
But that's it. The expansion, I need to be careful what I say now because I'm part of their counselor program, so I know lots about it, but I'm not allowed to say anything that hasn't been made public yet. It's going to change gameplay. They're going to add new systems to it, rework some stuff. It's going to be good. I know it's very vague. I'm so sorry.
I'm
but
just hoping
basically-
I'm just hoping that there's enough in it that I can convince my friend Kevin to buy it, because I play Civ 4 with him still, and Civ 5 with him occasionally. So I'm just hoping that there's enough in there and they discount it enough that I can make him buy it. That's my hope.
Yeah, so watch the trailer and then you get a good impression of what's coming. But they're gonna give you more than just new cultures. It's gonna be a whole expansion.
Yeah.
I haven't played in a year. I think I need to get back on it.
Well, I've not played it at all up until very recently, and a while back they reached out and I became part of their partner program, I guess, and I was just like, yeah, I'll get around to doing it. And it kind of just, the last couple of months have just been non-stop games that I really, really want to play, and it's just kind of been sat there on my kind of to play list. And so with the news of the new expansion, I was just like, okay, well, this is the perfect prompt I need to actually pick it up and start to learn the game. So I'm looking forward to actually playing that on stream, because I normally find games like that a little bit overwhelming, especially when I'm having to do a bit of reading and having to work out new mechanics and stuff. I find it a little bit too much to try and do while trying to stream and read comments and entertain and that kind of thing. So for me to be able to play it a little bit before jumping in is usually how I prefer to do things. So I'm looking forward to learning more, and I know Kiri is an old hand at Humankind, and Jess, obviously you've had some experience, and Blind as well. So yeah, it'll be nice to actually join the cool crew.
Yes, join us.
It was
Join
actually
us.
they had a booth at PAX, one of the bigger booths actually, and
Yeah.
there was apparently one person from one of the other booths that every morning would get up and walk over to the Humankind booth and play an hour because there's an hour where the exhibitors get to just hang out at their booths before they let the public in. And every day I was playing for an hour and almost had finished a game by day 3.
That's amazing.
Which is kind of
So
awesome.
cool.
But
Yeah, I like Humankind.
No.
Good game. Also, it has a 2D Kiri avatar in it.
2D
Which is very cool.
not even remotely biased in that opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm not biased.
It is a good game.
I
though.
honestly enjoy playing the game, though.
Amplitude makes good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of good stuff, Jess was playing some Crusader Kings III.
I was. Yeah, so speaking of expansion DLC update things, specifically, Crusader Kings had an event pack release yesterday, September 8th. Today's the 9th when we're recording, but September 8th, they released their first event pack, which actually was kind of weird because they announced it like 8 days prior, and it just like came out of nowhere. But this one is called Friends and Foes, and it was released in conjunction with their 1.7 update called Bastion. So this event pack is kind of cool. It features over 100 new player-driven event chains. So like not just one event, but like events that chain into each other, and like depending on the decisions you make, like different prompts and stuff happen. So these are all focused around creating deeper connections with in-game characters and also driving deeper storylines. No, Kitty, this is not the time. This is not the time. He's like, yeah, speaking of Crusader Kings, you should pet me because I'm the king.
Oh, yeah, checks out.
Yeah. So it has a really big focus around creating friendships and even creating rivalries with other characters. And like they've introduced, I think, generational feuds. And so like you can wrong somebody as one character, and then their future offspring, could like take revenge upon your house, and it's kind of cool. It comes with new music as well. The event pack is $4.99 US dollars and is not included in the what was it, the Royal Edition? Whichever the fancy version of the game is, where they
The
give
big
you a
we
bunch
give
of
you all of this stuff for an extra $15 edition.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not included in that. So because of that, the reviews are really mixed. From my digging, it seems like the majority of the complaints are players being upset that it's not free when they feel it should be free. My response is like, devs got to make money. They're like still developing this game 2 years later. So it did come with a free update at the same time though, which is like another thing. Like there's this now too. I don't know if we should be so upset about a $5 event pack, but the update comes with like a lot of new balancing, with changes to AI decision making. Although I haven't really read into it, I did not read the instructions. There's new childhood personality events, new icons, etc. And the really big thing that they released in conjunction with the Friends and Foes event pack is memories. So these are now chronologically tracked major events for every character that you can just pull up. And so you can see like all major events in their life. And they can be used.
Really cool.
Yeah, they can be used to like drive events, like grievances and stuff, justify grievances, or like memories may just fade over time. It's neat.
Something that's really funny about that is when I was at PAX, the first day I spent the afternoon with Zach and Tarn Adams and community manager of Kitfox, Alexandra. And while we were hanging out, she actually mentioned Crusader Kings because they were just like, yeah, we released our Memories UI for Dwarf Fortress and what it's going to look like 6 months ago, and now it suddenly showed up in Crusader Kings. It's like, huh, interesting. Not saying they
don't
stole
know
it, I
if-
just think that that's funny.
Yeah, I have no insight to that.
It's funny coincidence is all.
I played a little bit yesterday, and I actually had my first experience with the new system. So I ended up making. I was playing as a woman account, and I had an event where I formed a rivalry with my like co-vassal to our liege, like the Duke, you know. So like we hate each other, but we're both on the council for the Duke. We're on the Duke's council, and the event was like you spend so much time together, and you're always at each other's throats, and just today you just can't stand it. Like he's yelling at you, and like his posturing and his jawline is distended, and like suddenly you realize actually he's pretty handsome. And it like spirals into this whole like seduction event, and I just kind of went with it. I just went with it like in improv fashion, like yes, and it was so funny. Like I ended up sending like musicians to his hall, and his wife was asking questions like, "Who's sending you all these serenades and stuff?"
So so you're saying that your count was a 10 because she stole her husband?
Yes, I guess so. Oh, but then I felt so guilty as well because I like my character's husband also like planned simultaneously this whole like surprise birthday party for my character, and so like she goes and has this affair with her rival, and then like next day has this whole surprise party, and it was just like it was so awkward, but it was really fun. Like the new dimension there between like the player and all the AI is just, it's as a role-playing aspect really great.
Man, I need to learn Crusader Kings. I just play too many deep games that I can play forever, and it's a problem.
No, I feel that.
Maybe I should give it another try.
Yeah, CK3 was one of those games that I picked up, and I think I tried to learn it on stream, and I think this was when I learned that going about games like that, like, you know, big in-depth strategy games and trying to learn them on stream is just not for me, because I was just completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, that was actually one that I played off stream because it was on Game Pass, and I was just like, I don't know if this is a game for me. I'll just try it. I spent like a few hours running through the tutorial and was like, yep, playing this tomorrow on stream. It's happening.
Nice. It sounds like there's a lot of new content with a DLC. Sounds good.
Specifically an event pack.
Damn it!
There's a distinction.
Right. Well, there we go.
But yeah, if you sorry.
DLC, expansion, event pack.
The new content.
Yeah, there's so much new content between like the Vikings flavor pack that came out at some point. And there was also the recent Fate of Iberia, which introduced the whole blanking on all these words. What did they specifically call it?
I've got 6 DLCs, so I just looked at it.
The struggle feature. Yeah, they introduced the struggle feature there, and yeah, there's a lot of content now. It's like it's not the same game at all. And they rebalanced everything with this new update too. Like did a lot of AI rebalancing, and like changed decision making, and so it's like I don't know how anything behaves anymore.
That's the fun of those types of games, though, is relearning them every 8 months.
Learning it from scratch again. Oof.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, I haven't played like too much of it, just a few hours, you know. So I really can't say whether or not like the mixed reviews are justified for it, the Friends and Foes event pack, but so far I've had fun. Like it led to a really interesting event chain, a few actually.
It's really hard to tell if a Paradox game is bad or if the community is just arbitrarily pissed off at them for some reason.
Yeah, I was talking to my chat about it yesterday, and they were saying this happens every time with Paradox, because why isn't this just free? because they constantly push out extra content for their games years later and then charge money for it.
It's because they don't have loot boxes in them, you dinguses. And they have people
Yeah,
they gotta
know,
pay.
I'm definitely of the I guess the side of I am absolutely 100% with DLC or expansions, provided that it's not content that should have been, that was purposefully discluded from the base game, making the base game feel incomplete.
Yeah.
And, you know, perfect example of that is, you know, when you've got day one DLC. And that's usually the dead giveaway for, you know, they've deliberately taken out content to try and get an extra buck out of it. But if you've got, you know, content and updates that are coming, you know, months or even years down the track, you know, if it's adding value to the game, a game that you already like, that you already play, then it only makes sense to value the developer and the work that they've put into the game. And if you want the new DLC, pay for it. It's, you know, it's not,
Yeah,
makes
you
a lot
don't
of
get
sense.
everything for free, right? These things do
I think it also
cost
depends on
to
the
exist.
I think it also depends on the scale of the developer, you know, like something like Terraria, you know, is the 9th highest selling indie game of all time and is made by a very small team of people. It's like, it kind of makes sense why they just keep updating it because the game keeps selling, but it really depends on if the game's selling or not, right? Like Brian Becklew, who's the programmer on Caves of Cud, has said that they're not doing DLC for Caves of Cud because it's not done yet and because it's still selling. But they've stated that once it's out of early access and once it stops selling, they want to do quest packs where for $5 they will sell like a new faction for the game and like you know, a handwritten quest line, which is, in my opinion, perfectly reasonable. And talking about Dwarf Fortress stuff, like they were saying that like if they need to do DLC in the future, they would just commission more music for the game and sell extra soundtracks, which is
Well,
also
that was the
perfectly
thing because
logical.
like this. Well, no, I'm not sure I have it. I have it straight. The in this like base update that they did 1.7, they introduced like a bunch of new illustrations and animations, and so that was all free. But then in the paid content, like there's new music, so like they have to like pay the musicians and everything. I assume they're not doing that in house. I mean, maybe they
Composers
are.
ain't cheap.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm kind of like, that's my take.
Paradox community's pissed off again. But speaking of communities that are perpetually mad at the developer, Drongo, do you want to talk about Total War?
Yeah, I'd love to. So this week on the 8th of September, Sega, Code Assembly? Is that right?
Creative
just having a
Assembly.
moment.
Creative
developer,
Assembly, yes.
Publishers.
Creative Assembly, sorry, yeah, thank you.
Because they used to make games in assembly. Fun fact.
Makes sense. So they released their big 2.1 update for Total War Warhammer, which is the big a big update to follow on from their recent DLC, Champions of Chaos, and also their introduction of the Immortal Empires campaign to the game, both of which are amazing additions to the game, and I know that I have had a great time with it, and I believe, Kiri, you have as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So they have managed to follow that up with an update which managed to, as Blind alluded to, managed to piss off most of the community because it broke a lot of aspects for the game. So
Oh no.
they broke pretty much defending your settlements and a whole bunch of different aspects of the game, which was surprising for an update that was meant to fix a lot of things. Fortunately, as of recording, yesterday they have released a hotfix 2.1.1, and that has supposedly fixed most of those issues, which is great news, of course. But within that update, they have managed to done a whole bunch of unit rebalancing, and they have managed to make some tweaks to the AI and research trees for different factions, because with Immortal Empires being introduced, you now have, I don't even know how many off the top of my head, but I would say approximately around 50 or 60 different factions, many of which have very specific mechanics within them and playstyles, and trying to balance that, I can only imagine, must be an absolute nightmare. So these sorts of patches are really, really important and really, really good for the game. So I'm hoping that after this week, the game will only continue to get better. And, you know, I've been playing a bit on stream, and I've also been playing a lot off stream. I just finished my first legendary campaign, which I'm very happy about.
Nice.
And I've also been playing with my community a multiplayer campaign, which has been a lot of fun off stream.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
really good.
awesome. I tried playing this one. I played on stream, and I think I had the exact same scenario that you described, where I tried learning it on stream and was just so overwhelmed that I was like, I can't do this. And I haven't played it since. It was just like, it was so much. It was too much.
Yeah. It's
Did
one of those
you-
games.
Did you try, were you playing through the campaign, the tutorial?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it was the tutorial.
I don't think it's
Okay.
possible to start that game without doing the tutorial, which also caused drama initially because it's like 6 hours long. And for people who know how to play, they were all like, bah, just want to play.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that may entirely be correct. Yeah. It was the first game to actually come out with a tutorial, and I did think it was pretty good, and a pretty good introduction to the game, especially for making the title more accessible, because the previous Total War games really didn't do a great job of trying to bring in new people to the series.
Maybe I'll try again.
Try it off stream. If you've got time, of course. But
One day.
We all
One
need a few
day.
extra hours in the day.
It is not Steam
yeah.
Deck compatible. So
is
Yeah,
it
true.
actually not compatible, or is it just not verified? Like
it
they
says
don't know?
unsupported.
I mean, it might run, but I don't know if I'd want to play a Total War game on like a touch screen. I don't see that working. But
Well, you don't have to use the touchscreen because the trackpad is amazing.
okay, let me reiterate. I don't know if I'd want to play it without a mouse. Like I
Okay, so
think
I've played-
that would be a situation where I would just straight up take a mouse, plug in a mouse, and just have like a mouse next to me on the thing if I was to play that on a
Yeah, fair enough.
deck.
I've played games on my Steam Deck before that were not meant to be played. As it wasn't not supported, but it was just, you know, they didn't really care about it. And games that you're supposed to play with a mouse, but the trackpad is so amazing and intuitive. It's just you don't need a mouse.
I'm so excited.
Soon,
Soon. It's out for delivery.
you're gonna have so much fun with it.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to your
I'm-
review of it.
I'm so excited. There's like so many games I want to play, but I can't be bothered to sit down at my desk.
I know.
play them.
feeling.
Well, you've got another game on here, Jess, that I think probably would run real well on a Steam Deck. So do you want to talk about Heroes of Hammerwatch?
Yeah, I mean, I
Cult
don't
classic.
have to. It was just something that I played while I took some days off this week, and I played it with Solentre. Yeah, Heroes of Hammerwatch. It's an action adventure roguelite dungeon crawler released
Nice.
in 2018 by Crackshell and published by Surefire Games. It has online co-op, and so Solentre and I were playing together. We didn't get very far because we kept losing our connection, and apparently it's like a well-known issue that doesn't really have a fix, and so
What?
we tried like 4 times, and he kept getting booted from my lobby, so we didn't get very far. But
That's so sad.
yeah, I mean, assuming that people don't know about it, it's primarily, at least in my experience, I didn't get very far. Just a dungeon crawler. Pretty light on story. And you can play as a few classes, like your traditional stuff, like your warlock, your paladin, the rogue. I played as the rogue, which the only skills I really have were using the bow, and I think that changes as you upgrade your town. But it features procedurally generated levels, and you go through hordes of enemies. You collect money, you collect ore, you solve puzzles and deal with trap rooms, and you have opportunities to bank your loot throughout. So like you can collect your money, you can collect your ore, and then like send it back to town. However, if you die before you do that, you lose everything. And so in co-op, it was kind of interesting because if one of your characters dies, you can become soul linked and revive them. But then if either one of you dies, you both die together. Like after you're soul linked, you like one death equals both deaths. And so that was cool. What was also interesting is that you have your character from your world, and that character will come to like my lobby. So like Selentre's character from his world came to my lobby and we shared loot. So like every coin that we collected was duplicated in our inventories, and same with ore. So when he goes back to playing on his own, he's got all that money and all those resources that he banked in my game to spend in his world, which was neat.
Absolutely. I have almost 100 hours in the game, and I played lots with Mystery, Lex, and FG a while back. I don't remember us having multiplayer issues though. I don't know, but we played lots, and it's a really, really good game. Super fun.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. Like we got really frustrated because if somebody gets kicked from your game, you have to either finish your dungeon crawl solo or back out. And so it was just really frustrating because they can't rejoin. So like we would get really deep into a level and then he would get kicked. And so I'd have to just try and find the bank, to send my loot before I died, because I was just like a squishy little rogue and he was playing a paladin. So he was tanking everything. And suddenly I was like, I'm dying.
Oh, that's sad.
So it was frustrating. We went through it a few times and then just gave up. But I enjoyed it, and I really want to play more. I love little dungeon crawler games.
It's pretty fun solo, too, which is how I played it.
I haven't tried solo.
Yeah. Solid little action
I
RPG.
really
for sure.
enjoy kind of like co-op games like that. So that might be something I pick up in the future.
So we should play together, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do I
Is
need
that-
to
is that what
reinstall
you heard?
Hammerwatch?
Because
That's what I
I
heard. Yeah.
Halcyon Hammerwatch?
We could do that. I'd be
Oh,
down.
like
Halcyon
it.
Watch?
It rolls off the tongue.
I'm down. Anyway, on that kind of note, though, before I lose my voice, which I'm apparently doing now.
Yeah, me too. I think it's allergies.
Yeah, it's that time of year. But I think it's time for us to kind of wrap this podcast up. When we were doing the pre-talks for this one, we were saying about an hour, and I'm looking at an hour 20 minutes on our recording timer. So I think it's time for us to wrap up. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to say, Jess, who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
As far as I'm aware, I think that I am Jess. You can
Really?
find me on Twitter, on Twitch, on Discord, on something else. And I'm thinking about reviving my Instagram. YouTube is the other place. Yep, of course, YouTube. I'm thinking about reviving my Instagram. I'm on the fence. We'll see. So maybe Instagram soon, TM.
And Drongo, who are you and where can people find you?
I'm Drongo, and I am a voice actor, artist, and content creator. And you can find me on Twitch as Bloody Drongo. You can find me on TikTok as bloody.drongo, and on Instagram, same name, and on Twitter as the Bloody Drongo.
And Kiri.
Yep, that will be me. You can find me on 2dkiri.com.
And I'm Blind. You can find me at BlindIRL basically everywhere. This is the Halcyon Frequency Podcast, and you can find more episodes of this podcast at halcyonfrequency.com. If we don't appear on a podcast platform of your choice, please send me a DM and I will make it appear there. I actually had to do that for somebody relatively recently. We're now on Overcast properly. If the podcast platform that you listen to us on happens to have reviews, please leave us a review. I think we're a 5-star podcast, but frankly, you can give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a 1-star. It doesn't matter. As long as we're getting reviews, that's what tells iTunes to promote it. And aside from that, this has been Halcyon Frequency. Until next week, don't touch that dial. Signing off.